How exactly was the Shulchan Aruch accepted? Did the Jewish people vote? Did the rabbis of the Jewish world discuss it? How did this come about? If one examines the Shulchan Aruch, one will quickly discover that it really consists of two parts. The part written by the original author, Rabbi Yosef Karo, who was a Sfaradi, and the annotations that were added within a generation of the book first appearing by the Ashkenazi sage Rabbi Moshe Isserles. The first printing of the Shulchan Aruch with both these parts of the work printed together was printed in the year Shin Mem 1580. If one examines the halachic approach of these two Chachamim, one discovers a very simple thing, and that is that both of these Chachamim are not, for the most part, deciding halachic issues on their own, based on their own analysis and reasoning and understanding. They are essentially quoting earlier authorities, each from those countries, authorities that lived in those countries from which they themselves came, which are a reflection of what the standard halachic practice of the Jews were in these countries at that time. In other words, Rabbi Yosef Karo, a Sfaradi, for the most part relies on the opinions of halachic authorities like the Rif, the Rambam, Rashba, and others, who were all Sfaradim and whose views had become the accepted approach and practice in Sfaradi lands, where Sfaradi Jews resided. And the Rama, Rabbi Moshe Isserles, did exactly the same. He lived in Poland, in Krakow. He did exactly the same for the Ashkenazi Jewry. He recorded the opinions and the views of those great Torah sages, medieval sages, such as the Tosafot and Marami Rothenburg and the Rosh, whose opinions had become standard practice in Ashkenazi countries. So, in fact, what we have here is not a book which consists of halachic decisions so much as a book which is essentially a snapshot, an halachic snapshot of reality at that time in different parts of the Jewish world. It's almost as if Rabbi Yosef Karo took out a camera in order to record the halachic reality in his part of the world, and Rabbi Moshe Isserles did exactly the same thing. In Poland, recorded the views and the opinions that were standard in his part of the world. It obviously, therefore, goes without saying that this book was accepted, so to speak. The word accepted, of course, in inverted commas. Because if a book simply tells you that this is what we do and therefore you should continue doing it, well, of course, everyone will accept it. No one will have any problem with such a book. An halachic code which comes along and says, this is what you should do, even if it's not what you have been used to doing till now, such a book will, of course, frequently, if not almost inexorably and without exception, such a book will encounter opposition from different quarters. But a halachic code which simply states, this is what we do in this part of the world, and the other half of the same book tells you, well, this is what we do in this part of the world. Of course, that is a perfectly innocuous and readily accepted work which can function as a kind of basic text for all Jews all over the world, because it involves no decision-making and no departure from accepted practice. And this is why the Shulchan Aruch became a standard and commonly accepted book of halachic practice. But that doesn't imply or prove that the Shulchan Aruch is in any way superior to other halachic texts, or that the opinions recorded therein are necessarily more correct than other opinions that may exist.